Folks, I'm sure you can tell with the statue behind me that we're in Wall Street today. The charging bull symbolises the optimism of capitalist America. And just up the road, it's the New York Stock Exchange, where over $170 billion is traded every single day.
Now, despite that optimism, most investors win small and they lose big. They're being powered by a force, and that force is the same force that's powering the buyers, your buyers, to make the decisions that they do.
This powerful force has been influencing the decisions that are made in this iconic building ever since the day it was opened over 200 years ago. But it's only recently that force has become understood and documented.
And rather worryingly, what powers that force contradicts how most sellers have been taught to sell today. So what are most sellers taught? They're taught to sell the benefits. Buyers buy benefits, right? Now on this graph here, we can actually map how your buyer reacts to these benefits that you are presenting to them. So this side of the graph, this axis here, so this side of the graph, this represents gains. So if you like, that is the benefits that your buyer sees. Over here, this might be losses that your buyer feels. Up and down the way, so above this line here, this is how they feel. This is called emotional value. So that's them feeling good here. Below the line, they're feeling bad. They're feeling negative. So if you offer a gain, what are you? You're over here. And how are they going to feel? Well, they're going to feel good about that. So most sellers say, okay, Mr. Buyer, these are all the gains that you're going to make if you go with us. And that gain is going to make your buyer feel good. So you're going to say, here's the efficiency gains, here's the productivity gains, here's all the savings you can make. So that is important, but it's not as important as something else.
So this guy here, Professor Danny Kahneman, won a Nobel Prize in the early 2000s because of his work understanding the relationship between loss and gain and how you feel. And it was that relationship he determined that really drives human decision making and what drives people to make the changes that they do. And what he found was, if you're trying to motivate your customer or prospect to change, and that's what you're doing, you're selling change. Keenan talks about it in his book Gap Selling. Well, the best way to do that isn't by enticing them with gains and benefits. There's a much more powerful force that's driving their decision making. That's what Kahneman found. So imagine that you go out tonight and you hit the casinos, you hit the blackjack tables and you start to win. End of the night, you cash in your chips and you've won $100. How are you going to feel? Well, you've made a gain of $100. You're going to feel good. You're going to be up here somewhere in the curve, right? There you go, you've won $100. Tomorrow night you do the same thing, you go back out to the casino, but this time you start to lose. End of the night you cash in your chips, you find you're down $100. How are you going to feel? Well, you've made a loss of $100. You would think it would be logical to assume that if you felt that good for winning $100, you would feel equally as bad for losing $100, so you'd be down here somewhere. So in other words, the relationship between gain and loss and how you feel, you would imagine is linear.
But that's not what happens. What Kahneman found was something quite different. He found that human beings, well, they like to win, but they hate to lose. And the curve looks something like this. The intensity of feeling about losses below this line is at least twice, perhaps 3 times more than the intensity of feeling is above that line. So that $100 that you lost is likely to feel more like $200, perhaps even $300 worth of feeling. And that feeling translates to motivation to change. So let's map back this scenario again. Only this time, imagine this is your buyer solving their problems themselves. That's the gain that they can make by solving their problems themselves. That's how they feel about it.
And then one of your competitors comes in and speaks to the buyer and says, look, I can give you even more gain.
And then you come in and you offer the most gains, the most benefits, and your buyer feels pretty good about that. They feel, in fact, the best about you. But that's in the moment. When are they going to make a decision? Is it 3 months later, 6 months later, 9 months later? They're going to make a decision and they have to decide who's offering the most value. And they look down that line in their head and they say, they're all the same. What do? They stick with doing it themselves. They make no decisions. That's why serious decisions documents that 60% of deals end in no decision. That is why leading with benefits is going to make it very hard for you to differentiate yourself from your competition.
If you understand this curve, you can overcome those problems of differentiation and no decision. And in fact, this curve is one of the reasons that many amateur investors who play the stock markets lose over the long term. Back to the world of selling. What can you do about it? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below, and we're also going to shoot another video next week exploring this topic in a bit more detail.